Namaste, everybody, and welcome to Karuna-Yoga with Compassion, yet another episode. And as you can tell, I'm a little under the weather, so I'm not sounding as myself, but this is life. Today, we are beginning a 20-minute journey into the stadium of the mind. As we approach the Super Bowl today, everyone talks about the clutch performance. I want to tie that to yoga philosophy. In yoga, we have a name for that. And it's Sthira Sukham Asanam. It comes straight from Yoga Sutras, which were written thousands of years ago, Sutra number 2.46. Sthira is strength, stability, and the grit. Sukham is ease, comfort, and the flow that we talk about. And if a quarterback is all sthira, he's too rigid and breaks under the pressure. But if he's all sukham, he lacks the power to execute. To win everything and everywhere, you must find the middle path. And in our career too, it's the same. We have to find, or in personal life, you have to ask ourselves, am I pushing so hard that I've lost my sukham? Or am I so relaxed that I have lost my sthira? True excellence is the perfect marriage of the two. If you have, and if you're listening, if you have questions, concerns, or maybe you want to participate in the conversation, the number is 1-877-265-5992, 1-877-265-5992. And today's talk, we are going to explore the architecture for excellence. To move from the sideline to the trophy, you need tapas. Again, in Sutra number 2.1, Patanjali identifies tapas as the first element of Kriya Yoga, the yoga of action. Tapas literally means to burn or to heat. But in a winning mindset, tapas isn't just mindless grinding. It's the combustion of resistance. If we look at the modern athletic training, right, we see this mirrored in the concept of super compensation. You stress the system, you create the heat, the burn, and the system returns stronger. But the Yoga Sutras take it a step further. Tapas is meant to purify the senses and strengthen the body. If, let's say, you're a corporate employee or a student or even an athlete or a regular yoga practitioner, tapas is what allows you to sit with the complex system for 5 hours without your mind wandering to a distraction. It is the ability to stay in the fire of a difficult conversation or a failing project until it is resolved. Now, around the world, elite performers have operationalized this controlled burn concept. For example, in UK, in the British cycling team that is famously used the marginal gains, they didn't just train harder, they looked at the pedagogy of the bike, the pillow the athlete slept on, the gel they used. In yoga, this is yogesha karmasu kushalam. It means yoga is skill in action. It is not pedaling, it is the skill of pedaling. Our Navy SEALs, they teach that when your mind tells you that you're done, you're only 40% of your capacity. This is pure tapas. It is the intentional burning of the ego's perceived limits to achieve that unseen ascent of the human spirit. And globally, when you look at the neurosciences, it tracks a concept called deep work. When you eliminate the vritti, the notifications, the pings, the internal noise and all that stuff, you create a mental environment where tapas turns into a flow. And in my research, I was researching, I focus on how we track these subtle shifts. In the West, we track the HRV, which is your heart rate variability, to see if the mind is ready for the burn. And yoga, we track the prana. How is your prana, energy, life force? If you are a lead, a half hitter, your heat must be directed. If you're angry at the pitcher, your tapas is unskillful, it's just smoke. But if you channel that heat into absolute focus on the seam of the ball, you become a legend. You move from abhyasa, which is practice, to vairagya, which is detachment, where the heat of the effort no longer burns you, it burns the obstacle. And for the young adults that are listening, those of you at the crossroads of college, your first job, or the pressures of the social media, life can feel like that constant Arjun movement. And I'll speak about it a little bit. Arjuna movement. You're expected to perform, to choose a path, and to win before you even had a chance to practice. The stress you feel is often a result of parinamavada, an anxiety of constant change and the fear of future that you can't control. But a winning mindset for a young person isn't about never failing. It's about growth. And pratipaksha bhavanam, meaning the yogic practice of flipping the script. When a negative thought enters, such as I'm not good enough or I'll never succeed, you intentionally cultivate its opposite. You don't ignore the stress, you use it as the tapas to forge a stronger version of yourself. There's a beautiful piece of a folklore from the Bantu tradition that speaks to this perfectly. It's the story of a young boy who was terrified of the shadow in the cave that haunted the village. Every time someone approached the cave, they heard a roar so loud that it shook the earth, and they ran away in fear. One day the boy decided he would not give up. He didn't have a weapon. He only has his breath and his resolve. And as he walked towards the cave, the roar grew louder. His heart pounded, the ultimate stressor. But instead of running, he took a step forward. As he got closer, the giant in the cave began to shrink. By the time he reached the entrance, the very, very terrifying monster was actually a tiny creature, no larger than a frog, whose voice was amplified by the echoes of the cave. This creature's name was the fear of what might be. When the little boy picked it up, it stopped roaring. What's the lesson here? Most of the stressors you face as a young adult are just echoes. They are amplified by our imagination, the pressure of the society, and you walk towards them with a winning mindset, they shrink to their true nature or the true size. In yoga, we call this development of buddhi or discernment. For a teenager, the winning mindset is the ability to discern between the lion's roar, the fake pressure of the society or the peer expectations, and a small creature, the actual task at hand. And it's not just for youngsters, for us too, day-to-day things such as folding a laundry. For some of us, like me, it feels like a daunting task. But actually, when you sit and do it, a couple of minutes and it's done. But I end up pushing it out for 2 to 3 days, sometimes even weeks. Patanjali tells us in his Sutra 1.14, which I'm not going to read it out, but the translation of it, it means practice becomes firmly grounded when it has been cultivated for a long time, without interruption and with devotion. For a young person, this means your mindset is a muscle. You don't get a winning mindset once. You build it every time you choose to stay in the game after a setback. You're building a solid foundation. To transition from giving up to growing up, I leave you with 3 practical daily rituals, which not just the young adults, all of us can do too. One is have a 90-second recalibration session. When a stress hits you, your fight or flight system takes over. Use the box breathing. Inhale for 4 count, hold for 4 count, exhale for 4 count, and again hold for 4 count. This is the physical way to tell your brain the lion is just a frog. It shifts you from the sympathetic nervous system to a parasympathetic nervous system. The second tip, I call it the audit of the five. Ancient philosophy emphasizes on satsang, association of truth. Look at your digital and physical circle. Are you surrounding yourself with roars or resolvers? A winning mindset is contagious. Find mentors, peers, friends, or even family members who also take you towards a better state of mind, a better state of being, and who provide you with strength and motivation and support you. Five people you need. And the third one, I call it as a failure log. Instead of hiding your mistakes, practice svadhyaya or self-study. Write down one thing that went wrong each day, one thing you learned from it, and this transforms a loss into a lesson, which is fundamental definition of a winner. Remember, the goal isn't to be stress-free, the goal is to be stress-proof. Like the boy in the cave, your power is found in the step you take towards the roar. Now, when we reach the heart of the battle, your preparation, you have taken a step forward. Imagine Arjuna on the field. Arjuna is a character from Mahabharata. He's in the field, facing his enemies in epic war, and his enemies are nothing but his own family, his cousins, his uncles. Think of him, he's the MVP, the greatest archer of his time, and yet he's paralyzed. He was a great archer. His bow slips from his hand. His skin burns. Well, you can call it the ancient version of what we call the choking moment in the modern sport. Why does this happen? Because Arjuna's mind has left the present moment. He is no longer in the action. He's in the consequences part. He's looking at the fruit, the death of his family members, the fall of his legacy. The weight is too heavy to carry while trying to aim an arrow. And this is where we apply the most famous verse in the world of winning, coming from Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyevadike raste ma phaleshu kadanchana. There is more to it, but I won't go there all either. But literal translation of it says, you have a right to the work, but never to the fruits. Do not let the fruit be your motive. And not be attached to the inaction. In modern cognitive science, we call this explicit monitoring theory. When a high performer tries to consciously control a motor skill, they are practiced 1,000,000 times. It's like Super Bowl kicker or a CEO giving a keynote. They fail. Why? Because they are monitoring the result instead of being in the process. If you are managing a global rollout at your company and you're terrified of the fruit, the failure or the lost revenue or the boss's reactions, you cannot do the work. The work of leading, intuition, strategy. The fear of the fruit creates chittavritti, meaning mental noise. And when you surrender the fruit, you delete the noise. Later today, in the game, in the Super Bowl, when the player who makes the game-winning catch will be the one who wasn't thinking about the ring, the contract, the headline. He was being the catch. In that split second, the player, that is the subject, and the object, the ball, they both disappear. There is only the action. He has surrendered the fruit to the divine and became the action itself. This isn't just a nice story, it's a technical instruction. And Patanjali in Yoga Sutras defines this state through the progression of concentration, dharana, meditation, dhyana, and absorption, which is samadhi. In this scenario, your dharana, your focus on the ball. In dhyana, the focus becomes uninterrupted flow. You're just watching the ball coming towards you. And samadhi, you're one with it when you catch it. When Gita tells us to detach from the fruit, it is teaching us to enter that samayama, the combined power of the three states. By letting go of the result, you gain the total mastery over the moment. This is how you win everywhere, by becoming so present that the result becomes an afterthought. The win is not something you get, it is something that happens because you were brave enough to be fully there. If what I'm speaking is connecting and resonating today, and it's getting you motivated to do something, give me a call and let me know. What are your winning strategies? How's your winning mindset look like? And how have you recently used it? The number is 1-877-265-5992. I repeat, 1-877-265-5992. Now, in the corporate world, we often confuse a winning mindset with a results at all cost mindset. And in ancient philosophy, and even in modern psychology, like Carol Dweck's work, suggests that a true winning mindset is actually a growth mindset. In a corporate setting, the primary fear is the fear of incompetence. This leads to a fixed mindset where you feel you must prove that you are the smartest person in the room. And that leads to you being defensive, you stop learning, and you stop taking risks. And in yogic path, this is the ego, the asmita. When we lead from asmita, we are brittle. A true winning mindset is rooted in vairagya, the detachment. You're so secure in your preparation that you aren't afraid of the pivot. You see a missed quarter, not a personal failure, but as an insight for the next move. And in today's hyper-connected world, we frequently witness the tension between the authentic performance and acting from a place of presence and skill. The performative need where our actions are driven by a hunger of external validation, and of course the scoreboard for the public opinion, This is the most critical distinction for us in today's era in 2026. We live in a quote-unquote a performative era where looking like a winner often takes precedence over being a winner. And I call this the performative trap. For example, in yoga, it's doing a handstand for the perfect photo. While your breath is shallow, your mind is anxious. This is Maya, illusion. In life, it's the virtue signaling, or corporate work, it's a busy work that looks productive but yields no real value. But if you put on the winning mindset, then the authentic performance is your dharma. It is doing the right thing in the right way for the right reasons. When an athlete is in the flow, they aren't being performative. They aren't thinking about how they look in the jumbotron, but they are achieved ekagra, one-pointedness. So if we were to, the fear in the lion in the cave, fear for every age, then for teenagers, the fear of exclusion may be one of those. And self-study, finding the validation from within rather than from your peers, the tribe, is a way to get out of it. For adults, the fear of wrong turns, your career, your life. And the solution or the yogic antidote for that would be Ishvara Pranidhana, meaning doing your best and surrendering the fruit to the path. You are just part of the larger cosmos, larger universe, and you surrender. And for the professionals, the fear of irrelevance as we are going towards our later years of professional life, the status, the power, we will be losing that. And the yogic antidote for that is abhyasa, returning to the practice of growth rather than the pedestal status, the titles and the, package that we may get. We have to everything and everywhere win. We must transition from being a performer to being a practitioner. We have to learn to acknowledge the shadows, whether it's a little African boy at the cave or Arjuna at the chariot. The fear is real. Let's not suppress it. Use pranayam, the breathing techniques, to study our mind, study our vessel, so we can look at the fear in the eye. We have to learn to move from what to why. There is a need for performance, but instead of driven with the what, the trophy, the title, we must have put a winning mindset, which I've been saying, driven by the why, your dharma. And I always say at this point that somebody complaining about, oh my gosh, I don't like my work today, or I don't enjoy the managers that we have, or oh, this project is too hard, I wish I could do something else. Take a pause. Think about the why. By doing this job, we are one of those fortunate few that have a job that can bring a salary home. And with that salary, we are having a mindset, a living a lifestyle that we are leading. And that's a mindset change. And that's our dharma. Be present 100% with the job that we do. And the universe has a way to take care of everything else. The winning mindset isn't about the promotion. It's about the increased capacity to handle complexity with peace of mind. So whether you are 15 or 55, the invitation is the same. Step out of the performative theater and get into the performance of the life. Stop worrying about the likes on the screen and focus on the sthira and the sukha of the soul. That is how you win the Super Bowl of our own existence. As we close down, we move from the external battlefields of the Super Bowl and the corporate, meeting rooms to the internal landscape of the soul. We anchor our final thoughts in a powerful story from a Cherokee tradition, which I just came across quite recently. And this is the story of two wolves. It has come through centuries, Native American tradition, and this is a conversation between grandfather and his grandson. The grandson comes to the elder, his heart heavy with the life stresses. His mind is the cave of the echoes, and he says, "Grandpa, I feel as though there is a war going on inside me. It's a terrible fight between the two wolves. The first wolf is the wolf of the shadow. It is a performative wolf. It is made of ego, fear, and greed. It is a part of us that is terrified of the fruit of our actions. It thrives on the lion's roar of social comparison. It is the wolf that chokes under pressure because it is obsessed with its own image. It represents what in yoga we call kleshas, afflictions of the mind. And we have the second wolf. It is the wolf of the light. It is the winning mindset wolf. It is made of karuna, compassion, ahimsa, non-harming, and dharma, the right action. It is a wolf that enters the flow state. It doesn't care about the jumbotron or the promotion or the perfect yoga stance. It cares about the skill of the action. It is the wolf of sthira sukha, the steadiness and the ease. And the grandson looks at his grandfather and asks the question we all ask when we are standing on the 1-yard line of our lives, "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" Let me make it real for you. When you want to go for an exercise, maybe a gym, yoga studio, it could be in the evening, it could be in the morning, there is one wolf that asks you to stay in the bed. Why get up in the morning? One day, if you miss, doesn't matter. And the other wolf is pulling you, nagging you, saying discipline is important. There is guilt if you don't go. Which wolf will you let win? For this one, the old man, the wise grandfather, looks him in the eye and simply says, "The one you feed." This is where the story ends in the folklore, and this is where the sadhana, the practice, begins. In your meeting rooms, in your company, or the yoga mat, winning is the intentional act of choosing which wolf receives your prana, your life force energy. Every time you choose to focus on the work instead of the fruit, you're feeding the wolf of light, This is abhyasa, the persistent practice of returning to the center. If you spend your day scrolling through the social media or obsessing over your competitors, you're throwing meat to the wolf of the shadow. You're training your nervous system to be reactive, to be fearful and performative. To win everything and everywhere doesn't mean you kill the wolf of shadow. The shadow is part of the human experience. It is the Arjuna within us who is afraid. But you starve it by practicing vairagya, detachment. You're acknowledging the fear. You hear the lion's roar, but you just don't give your attention to it. You take a step forward. And the wolf of light grows through subtle, invisible wins. It's the win of taking one deep breath before answering a hostile email. It's the win of a teenager choosing to put the phone down and sit in silence doing your homework. It's the win of a manager who admits that they don't have all the answers but willing to learn. These are the micro victories that build the architecture of excellence. So, what's the true meaning of winning? In the Native American tradition and in the yogic tradition, winning is not the act of defeating an external enemy. Winning is the mastery of your own attention. Yoga karmesu kusalam. Yoga is skill in action. The most skillful action you take in life is to feed the wolf that brings you peace to your heart, clarity to your mind. And when you feed the wolf of light, the Super Bowl of your life becomes a celebration of your preparation, not the trial worth of your life. The battle is constant, but the choice is yours. Look at your life. Look at your caves. Look at your wolves. Choose the light. Choose the growth. And choose Karuna. The win is already yours. It's just waiting for you to feed it. And I'm Kiran Adibatla. Thank you for listening to me today. And have a wonderful Super Bowl celebration. May the team that you're rooting for win. Namaste.